complete change of tune from President Zelenskyy of Ukraine today. He has completely turned around his position and is now looking like he is willing to compromise and potentially end this war in some kind of deal where maybe Putin gets a bit of land. He's finally realised, it would seem, that he can't have everything his way. He can't get all of Ukraine back necessarily. The US is not going to keep on funding a war if they can't see any end in sight. So Zelenskyy has said that Ukraine is ready and looks like he's very, very much interested in a peace deal and the minerals deal with the US now. Now this, it seemed like he wasn't interested at all when he had that bust up with Trump in the White House. But actually he's put out this tweet today and seems to have changed his tune. So he says, I'd like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace. None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants more peace more than the Ukrainians. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. Okay, so clear commitment to get along with and deal with the Americans here, as opposed to the Europeans doing it all alone with a European army, as some people seem to think after that London summit that happened after his bust up with Trump was going to be the plan going forwards. He has probably realised that Trump is by far the most powerful leader in the West and that Europe alone cannot deal with the Ukraine situation. He is dependent on US funding and US support to continue any fighting. So he says, we are ready to work fast to end the war, and the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same. Then we want to move very fast through all next stages and to work with the US to agree a strong final deal. Okay? So here he says, if Russia will do the same, talking about agreeing a deal. So clearly showing some kind of commitment to negotiate with the Russians, right? Whereas when he was sat in the Oval Office with Trump, he was saying along the lines of, you can't negotiate with a killer, right? And we heard at that London summit, in Keir Starmer's summary afterwards in his propositions, he said that a peace deal must be on Ukraine's terms, almost as if you can make a deal without talking to one side of the deal, right? Which is Putin, right? You're gonna have to talk to this guy. As much as you hate him, and he is a dictator, I loathe the guy as well, okay? I'm not a Putin sympathizer, but you're gonna have to speak to the guy, right? He says, we do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. So clearly he's realised he needs to show a bit of gratitude, because there was a clear frustration from Donald Trump and JD Vance that when he was sat in the Oval Office that he seemed a bit ungrateful. Okay? Now, whether that made Zelenskyy completely responsible for that row that happened in the Oval Office, I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. But at the end of the day, we can all agree that there was a severing of ties there and a big bust up that needs to be repaired. And clearly Zelenskyy is holding out his hand here, trying to tell Trump that they're back in business now. He says, and we remember the moment when things changed when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins. We are grateful for this. Again, expressing his gratitude. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. So very clear there, that was not the end of it. These two are going to make up, as long as Trump is willing as well. And Zelenskyy is now willing to be more grateful for the support that the US gave him and perhaps more compromising. Says, regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it in any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step towards greater security and solid security guarantees, and I truly hope it will work effectively. So completely clear commitment there that they are willing to sign that minerals agreement, which they failed to sign when they had that huge bust up at the Oval Office the other day. And also, you get the sense here that now he is willing to negotiate with Putin. He's willing to make a deal to bring the war to the end. That realistically, if he's willing to make a deal, although he doesn't say it explicitly, if he's suggesting he's willing to make a deal to bring the war to the end, that probably means he is maybe willing to make some concessions on Ukrainian land. That might involve something like a referendum in these areas that Putin has seized, so that the people there get to decide who they are governed by. Maybe that's what will happen, but that may result in Russia taking some land. So very, very strong change of tune. Now, why is there such a sudden strong change of tune? You saw him being very, very clear-cut. Ukraine must keep everything. We have to fight until the end. And now seems like a different person. Well, what happened? Well, this we had yesterday. We had President Trump now suddenly talking about scrapping aid to Ukraine. What on earth would Zelenskyy do if he lost all his money from the US? They'd be toast. Putin would steamroll them. Putin could then potentially take more land and take the whole thing. So I don't think Zelensky's really had a huge change of heart. I think that Trump has forced his hand here by making it clear you're getting nothing if you don't come to the negotiating table. Trump's a great negotiator, and he uses money to make people change their tune. So we had yesterday the president wanting to call in senior cabinet officials to discuss ditching Biden-era aid to Zelenskyy. This was in the GB News article yesterday. Donald Trump is set to hold crunch talks on cancelling American military aid to Ukraine just hours after US spies were told to stop working against Russian cyber threats. The president will call in senior cabinet officials Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth to mull over canning Biden-approved aid to Zelensky's forces just days after an all-too-public spat with the Ukrainian premier in the Oval Office. The Trump team is said to be divided on how to handle Ukraine following the exchange. I reckon that is the news that terrified Zelenskyy, the idea of them losing all their aid from the US. I think that's why you've seen this sudden change of tune from Zelenskyy. But let me know what you think. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that there will be a deal, or do you think that this war will continue on for still a long time to come? Anyway, I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thank you very much for watching. Press the subscribe button below if you haven't already.